listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast by Dr. T. Michael W. Halcomb, Dr. Fredrick J. Long, Dr. Mario Melendez, Dr. Jennifer Noonan, and J. M. Smith. Welcome and enjoy.
Hello, welcome to Constituent Marking with Fred Long on Proof Text, and I'm Fred Long. We're looking at 1 Corinthians 12:23, and we're in the midst of an argument where Paul is trying to convince the Corinthians to have a mutual respect for each individual body part. Even though they're not the same, they belong to the same body. But there's different valuations of body parts, true. But God has ordered the body in its differentiated parts in a way that gives honor to them all. And in fact, we need to protect that within the community. So we're going to see how he continues to argue this out. He's been establishing that people just can't be one body part and not think of themselves as part of the body, or to say to other body parts, I have no need of you. Okay, so we've been seeing those kinds of statements and questions and the rhetoric as he's been presenting them. So now he continues. We've been seeing a lot of des, but now we have actually ke. So verse 23 has ke. I put a box around it. That's continuing, adding something, showing thematic continuity. Ke a dokumen, and that which we deem or consider to be more or less honorable of the body. And so what I'm going to do here is the a starts a subordinate clause. A starts a subordinate clause. So a is neuter plural relative pronoun. It is the that which we deem. And we're deeming this dokumen. We cut off that ending. That's first plural from dokeo. This verb takes an infinitive complement. So which things, and I double underlined that, but really it is accusative, but it's really governing this infinitive. So which things we deem to be, and then we have this adjective, atimotera. It's from atimos, to be dishonorable, and it's in the comparative degree. That tera ending is a comparative ending on the adjective. So remember that adjectives can have a positive degree. That's basically its lexical form. Then you can add different endings like teros, tera, teron, which make it a comparative. So you can say like red is the positive degree, the adjective red. Then you can say redder. That would be what the oteros ending is doing. And then there's a third degree, which is called the superlative degree, which is like the most of that degree. So reddest, for example. So positive, red, comparative, redder, and superlative, reddest, for example. So to go back here to the sentence then, and that which we deem to be dishonorable of the body, in regard to the body. So there's the end of the subordinate clause. So that which we deem to be most dishonorable of the body, to these, tutos time. So tutos is dotted underline. And then we have time, which is a double underline with its adjective peristeran, more, rather more, time. So more honor. And then we have the verb perithythemen, This is from peritithemi, to account for or to bestow or something like that. So it takes the direct object temein, which is modified by peristeron. Both of those receive a double underline. Remember that adjectives, in whatever degree they might be on to have, adjectives are marked along with the noun that they modify. Or if they stand in the place of a noun, then they're marked according to that function. So what's happening here? Well, we have a left dislocation. So this left dislocation here is this fronted clause, subordinate clause. It's a relative pronoun clause, which I put here in green highlight. That which we deem to be less honorable of the body, to these we bestow a greater honor. So the these there, the fronted to these, is what's called the pronominal trace. So this is a left dislocated topic. And so it's kind of interesting to see this here, because in my study of left dislocations, that is when you have some new material put way to the front of the clause, which in English is to the left, and then there is a trace that picks it back up, what's called a trace. Usually this indicates some immediate discourse discontinuity. So there's some immediate discontinuity here, and so that's kind of intriguing. Looking back at the previous sentence, the only kind of discontinuity I'm really seeing is that the seeming, the verb for approving or deeming, that becomes more prominent. Like it's something that we're doing. This evaluation of thinking things through, that is now more prominent in the discourse. So there's something interesting going on, because the ke here at the start of verse 23 is really just marking kind of continuity. Like this is just added to what's gone before, but there is the construction here is marking some discontinuity, some immediate local contextual discontinuity with what's just gone before. But this construction also marks larger discourse continuity. So there's a little bit of a break, but at the same time, continuity with the larger argument. So it's just a little bit of a different move that's taking place here that's interesting to mark. And I think it's a way to bring up this issue of honor and dishonor. Honor and dishonor. So that which we deem less honorable, in fact, we grant to them, to those, a greater honor. Okay, and so if we look at the previous context, there is this sense of, he has talked about body parts that appear to be weaker, but they're actually necessary. But now this appearing, this dokeo, is now taking an active role in being an active first-person plural form, so present, active, indicative. So yeah, I think there's some immediate discontinuity, but then a larger theme is still being developed. So yeah, it's interesting that he's used that construction there. That's how I would explain it at this point. It's certainly worth considering more the effect that has, because it seems like he's starting to get into our role in presuming or judging or thinking of things a certain way. Okay, so as we look at 12:23, continue on here, we see a ke, which again marks thematic addition, like something's added, just continuity, and. So this is different. Before we were seeing des, which marks distinctive development. Now we're seeing kes, So he's kind of adding ideas in a way that are linking and marked as showing continuity. So ta askemona, amon, single underline with amon, our, being genitive, and then I put an arrow back to what it modifies. So, and our shameful things, or rather our immodest, private things, ahi is the verb at the end, have. So before we get to ahi, though, we have evskemosunein perisoteron, teran. These are both double underlined. Perisoteron is rather more, means rather more. It's got a comparative degree on it. And then evskemosunein is a noun, accusative. So these are both accusative, receiving double underlines. It means honorable, like honor. So or really presentable. They are presentable, worthy, or they have good presentation. And I'm trying to translate it as a noun because the sune ending is actually a noun. And so they're rather presentable, worthy, or they have rather good presentableness. So Paul says here at the end that our immodest things have rather good presentableness. And so what is he talking about here? Well, it's a little bit tricky to understand this, because this word askemona at the front are shameful or immodest or unpresentable things. I mean, that can refer to genitalia. And so it's intriguing to think that he's talking about that, because that doesn't really make sense, is that he would be talking about our private parts. So if that's not what he's talking about, then we have to kind of go back to the immediate context. He's been talking about feet. Maybe those were a part of the body that weren't supposed to be seen. In some cultures, that's the case today, that, like if you're sitting down, you're not supposed to show the bottom of your feet to people. Like you're not supposed to sit cross-legged with your bottom of your foot up. So you need to keep your feet facing down. So I don't know if he's speaking to those kinds of body parts, but he's basically saying that there's a kind of an upside-down kingdom principle at work here, in that what we consider honorable and dishonorable within the body of Christ is reversed in a sense, and that we need to value all members, and especially like the weaker, considerably, and that which is considered less honorable in the broader society. So what kinds of things are that? Are we talking about like slaves? Are we talking like children? People, maybe menial workers, manual workers, people who work, labor in a certain kind of way. The Corinthians were struggling with social status and trying to climb up, and they were bringing that upward social climbing mentality into the body of Christ, and this was causing disruption, and it was causing them to want to be the same type of body part, have the same kind of high honor position, head, eye, that kind of thing, and looking down on feet and these rather less presentable parts. And so Paul here is saying, well, actually, these less presentable body parts have a rather more better or proper presentability to make this into a noun again. All right, so that's my discussion and marking up this verse, and it's rather interesting to see this argument develop. So I hope you're finding this helpful. Leave comments, questions. I'd love to address them, and Look forward to having you listen and watch next time. Take care.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glossa House can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glossa House offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glossahouse.com today. Glossa House, language resources for the global community.